New normal big life.
The longevity markers, and they are major. The first is muscle mass. The loss of muscle mass, called sarcopenia, right? It's when people really start to lose muscle mass. And I have graphs in my book that show how quick muscle mass loss starts to happen between 42 years old and 65. You lose up to almost 40% of your muscle mass. Muscle mass now in the medical world, the researchers, they're starting to link a direct hard hit link to the longevity question to how much muscle the human body has on it. You have to have a strategy. How are you going to plan on at least keeping the muscle mass you have if we know it's a longevity marker?
Imagine defying age, shattering limits, and thriving like never before. In The GOAT Within, expert fitness coach Timothy Ward reveals how he transformed hundreds of lives from pro athletes to 80-somethings through his battle-tested Fitness Quadrant System, drawing on 30 years of experience. Ward shares science-driven strategies to boost strength, extend vitality, and ignite joy at any age, plus actionable hacks backed by expertise. Ready to unlock your peak potential? This isn't just fitness, it's your roadmap to a longer, healthier, and happier life designed to make you stronger, healthier, and 10 years younger. Let's hear how from author and expert fitness coach, Timothy J. Ward. Hi, friends. Welcome to the New Normal Big Life podcast. We bring you natural news and stories about nature that we hope will inspire you to get outside and adventure, along with a step-by-step plan to help you practice what you've learned, create your own new normal, and live the biggest life you could dream. I'm your host, Antoinette Lee, the Wellness Warrior. Let's dive into today's important topic with expert fitness coach, Timothy Ward. Before we hear from our expert, let's learn more about this topic. In slang, the word GOAT, G-O-A-T, is used to describe someone who is the absolute best and most successful at their particular craft. After coaching professional athletes, busy professionals, and seniors well into their 80s, Ward has helped countless of clients who've rewritten their health narrative. Take a 62-year-old grandmother who had battled chronic fatigue and joint pain for years. Under Ward's guidance, using his innovative Fitness Quadrant System, she shed 40 pounds and took up running. Fitness expert Timothy Ward spent 35 relentless years chasing one mission: to decode what truly makes the human body strong, healthy, and built to last. Through years of athletic training, deep scientific research, and nonstop trial and error, Ward crafted what would become a revolutionary breakthrough. Enter the Fitness Quadrant System, a trademark system that fuses strength, cardio, nutrition, and recovery into one powerful formula. It's not theory, it's results, and it's already transformed the lives of thousands. Expert health and longevity coach, author of The GOAT Within, Aging Healthy and Strong, and How to Avoid Our Toxic World, Why Muscle is Magic, and How to Add 10 More Quality Years to Your Life. Let's hear how from Timothy J. Ward. Hi, Tim. Welcome to New Normal Big Life podcast.
Hi, Antoinette. How are you?
I'm well this morning, and I hope you are too.
I'm charged and ready to go.
All right, let's do this. So I want to know, and I'm sure the listeners want to know too, how did you become passionate about fitness and longevity?
Great question. So I can bring you way back and sort of give the quick journey of how I really moved into this space. I had a rough upbringing. Rough, meaning some physical abuse, all that stuff. Tough days when I was young, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And what happened is, through the bruises and the beatings and all that stuff, sports became my happy place as a young athlete in youth sports, from football to especially basketball, baseball. And I was really good. I was a very good athlete. And it felt great for the 90 minutes I was on a field, scoring points. And, my teammates were always excited. And I always sort of became that lead player through youth sports through grade school, junior high, high school, all that sort of stuff. So I became obsessed with it because it's the thing that made me happy. And that entire platform for me was such a powerful thing for where I was as a young kid. I constantly wanted to play, and I often found myself on summer basketball leagues, fall football camps and baseball games all in the same day, like a literal 12-hour day, and I loved it, right? So that naturally turned into a progression of, I'd probably say, it wasn't really junior high years competitively. It was probably more high school, where kids became bigger and stronger, faster, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, how do I get bigger, stronger, faster? What's the deal here? So did what the typical person always does, start hitting the weight room at the high school and doing everything incorrectly. Right? So that sort of triggered, deeper thoughts like, wait a minute. We just did squats yesterday. We're doing them again today. I'm still really sore. No. So I slowly sort of had in the back of my head, like, man, there's got to be some real science to this. You're talking about the human body. So that sort of played out. Post college, I actually got basketball scholarships going to Division III schools, a couple Division II schools. Division I was absolutely out of the question. No way was I good enough for that, right? But I still had the same spirit of playing. Let's win, let's work, all that sort of stuff. So after that, after my college, I sort of had a gap in my life where I'm like, man, I really miss competing. And, you do the men's leagues and you do stuff on the side, but it just wasn't filling my cup. So I started to really focus on training and working out more, that competitive thing, like, because you're a competitive athlete, right? And you have this thing in you, that feeling that you want to be a champion, even though you're not on the field anymore, right? So you start looking for ways to use your energy, to understand a little bit more how we become better. How do we physically and mentally, those two things are super connected, as you know. So I met, a couple quote unquote trainers, and they were the, low level. I got my certification last weekend, and so they're showing me exercises, and I'm not really knowing a ton at that point in my mid-20s. And I started to really question, like, these people don't know what they're talking about. They're showing me exercise, my shoulders hurt, my knee. I'm like, I don't get it. So it wasn't until my late 20s, maybe 30, I was at a big Gold's gym near Boston. You probably can hear it in my accent a little bit, but I was there. I observed and watched an exercise scientist working with clients, with some athletes and clients. And I started watching and listening. And then I was like, man, I am missing a whole level of this stuff. So I ended up meeting with him. He was a 5-year master's degree exercise scientist, real intense guy. Really brought me into a world of high level performance, how the human body really works. I ended up having him train me for about maybe 18 months, even though I was broke at the time. It was worth every dime, every dollar, because of the information. So personally, my body went from, this is before I met this guy. I worked out so hard for probably 3-4 years, maybe 5. I mean, hard. I had no idea what I was doing in the gym. I couldn't get my body to really change. I had no idea how to fuel and feed my body through nutrition. And I really was like, what's the point? I'm really working my ass off here in the gym 5 days a week. And I'm not really showing any gains. My shoulders kind of hurt a little bit. My knees kind of hurt a little bit, that whole thing, right? So after meeting and training with him, I dug in so deep. This guy had hundreds of clients, pro athletes, all of it. He was like, you need to become my training partner because you really are going at this hard. And so that happened. We became very close. And then he actually hired me to teach biomechanics to his clients. I was so good at absorbing biomechanics is exercise form, right? So I got a couple certifications underneath him, no big deal. They're mostly window dressing, as I say in my book. But what happened is I started to get really strong. I started to really gain a lot of muscle because I started to understand nutritional values, nutritional strategies, in season, off season, how to train through microcycles, macrocycles, all the things that even trainers today, God bless them, they're trying to do good stuff. I'm telling you, 8 out of 10 of them, maybe 9 out of 10 of them don't understand any of this. I happen to have a front row seat with a master's degree guy that led me into the PhD guys. Stephen Fleck, Texas University, Bill Kramer, UConn, Ohio State. I mean, brilliant people. And there's a lot more than that. But so I started to get invited into conferences, started to get exposed to real exercise sciences, which began to really vacuum me into that world because I was so fascinated what you could do with the human body. Not just performance-wise for a younger athlete, but for taking somebody that's middle-aged, 40, 50, 60 years old, and I've seen it so many times with my own eyes. I have hundreds of clients that I've really worked with and written strategies for, putting them into the right conditions, and mostly those conditions, the prevailing condition that somebody in their 50s or 60s wants is, how do I lose the fat that's just gaining like crazy on my body? And how do I'm losing my strength. What do I do? I work out so hard, but I can't seem to get rid of this. And I'm telling you, like I tell everybody else, and I talk about it in my book, it all comes down to knowledge. You have to have the knowledge base. A question I ask when I do a little seminar, I'll ask people, if I brought you down, like I lived in New York City for a little while, Midtown, and I said, if I brought you to the West Side Highway and the aircraft carrier there, I forget the name of it, you see it on TV, and if you've been to New York, you see it. It's got all the jets on it and all that stuff, right? Fascinating. So if I brought you on there and gave you the keys to one of those fighter jets and said, go ahead, can you just fly this down to Pennsylvania and fly it back? You'd look at me like I had 50 heads. Like, what are you talking about? I can't fly that. And of course, we know they can't, right? But I tell them at that point, your body is 100 times more complex than that fighter jet. So what makes you think you can go into the gym and have all these visions of you getting into shape and doing all that? Well, you don't really understand the human body. And it's that type of dialogue that starts to make people realize, wow, the human body, the complexities of it are real deep. They're applicable to different angles, right? So somebody that has to lose 80 pounds, we have different strategies than somebody that is anorexic and has to really gain a lot of lean body mass, right? So same principles, but different strategies. So a young athlete that's going for that, $200 million contract, what is their sport? What is the outcome that person's looking for? Is it directional change? Is it speed? What is it? Is it speed and power combined? Is it power and endurance? So there's all these different strategies that really apply. And what I've done and what I've been able to do, building an ecosystem for people, and that's why I wrote the book, is to really make people understand the differences on what type of training protocols you put into play. First of all, you need to have the knowledge to even know how to do that, right? What are the results of that protocol? What's the outcome? So a big part of what I do now is I train people online all over the world. I write programs for them. I get on Zoom and work with them and all that stuff. But I have a lot of people local that I still actually work with. I love it so much. The prevailing outcome for them is they're aging. How do I feel better? How do I lose that extra 30, 40 pounds? How do I work out in a way that I'm not going to injure myself? because that's one of the big things that, well, I'm sure we'll get into over the next 40, 50 minutes. Huge problem. That's the study of biomechanics and kinesiology and all that sort of stuff. So my journey had led me from playing sports out of necessity to be happy when I was young, or to find a safe, happy place, right? All the way through these different channels. And it's one of the stories of my life is, how did this whole thing occur? How did I get here? I'm now 60 years old. My wife is 62, amazing shape, where we live what we preach. And it's not even a job for us. This is what we've done, and I write about it a little bit in the book. Hopefully couples will see and be a little inspired to say, you know what, maybe my husband, or maybe me and my wife, maybe we should go on a little bit of a journey and stop for a minute and really understand this stuff, because it's done wonders for my marriage. I mean, my wife, Julia, she's actually in the book a few times, because she's 62, she'll be 63 in 6 months. She looks like she's 35 and strong as an ox, muscular, 125 pounds. She doesn't really realize it, that people in the gym are like, how, you're what? You're 62? And it's just an example of how to do this stuff right. Never injured, lifts, very strong. So the whole journey is really a dynamic journey that has touched a lot of different parts of my life. And what we're trying to do at this point is we're really trying to get out into the public, to get people to realize you can do this only if you do it the right way. There's a wrong way and a right way, and I get into these details in the book because my bottom line is to really help people, help them understand it's your biggest asset. And we talk a lot about that in the book, and I talk about that in my little presentations that I do, and I've got examples and all that stuff. But it is the only vessel you'll ever be in is your body. It's not like a car where, you can trade your car in every 4, 5, 6 years and get a new one. This is it. So let's, I try to get people to pay attention to it. I tell them your health will become your number one priority at some point in your life, by choice or by default. By choice or by default. Think about that. If you're forced to look in and do something about your health, it's getting really late in the game for you. You have to choose it. And a word we use all the time is preemptive. You have to we're so distracted in this society. It's unbelievable. We have distractions everywhere, right? Be preemptive, be a little greedy for yourself for once, 3 hours a week. Start to learn how to take your body and really, really start to elevate it. And it's complex. I've simplified it, and we'll get a chance to talk about how I've done that. And this is one of the reasons why I am very busy. I have a lot of people that really want to connect and understand how what I call design a fitness, health, longevity ecosystem for themselves. And that's what we do. It's not just training and working out. This is a lot bigger than that. And this is what we're trying to accomplish with as many people as we can touch. It's my mission. And, I'm here to really make an impact on society, on all this stuff.
So, Tim, you developed an entire system that's very innovative in its approach. Tell us what was the precipitating event that caused you to develop a new way of training the body, and how did that change your entire coaching philosophy?
That's a great question. It's a big answer. So I write in my book, I refer back to the book because it's coming out in a couple of weeks, but I write in the book that what I do, I love it and I hate it. People are always surprised when I say that. And the reason I hate it is because the frustration I get personally, because I want to help people so much, they really have a lot of roadblocks in front of them, and they won't take the time to actually understand some of the proper things they should be doing. They always have an answer. Oh, I'm trying this diet, or I'm trying this workout. And I saw some guy, he's got a 30-day program, and I'm trying that right now. I'm good. But I'm like, you're always complaining. You need to lose weight. Your joints hurt. Your back. So my frustration turned into, okay, well, maybe my systems need to be a little bit more user-friendly. Maybe I need to accomplish a big task of taking all this science and whittling it into a system that is digestible for the average person, that doesn't want to try to learn all this stuff. It is a mountain of stuff that will give you a headache. It really is. So what I created is, I've created two things. One of them, the overarching thing, is called the Fitness Quadrant. And the Fitness Quadrant basically is a trademark system. And I onboard everybody, and I talk about this when I train doctors of physical therapy and their staff on how certain movements work, and we'll get into that in a second. But the Fitness Quadrant basically is the 4 major phases of fitness. All right. Each one of these phases has a huge drop-down list, but the major phases are this, and it's a combination. If you want to drive your health to new levels and you want longevity to truly become a part of your story, you have to understand that it's a combination of a few things. It's not just eating good, or it's not just working out, right? Those things are great, but they're not going to move the needle very much. You have to combine these 4 things. And those 4 things are this. The top left quadrant is resistance training. It's all different types of resistance training, right? The top right is nutrition. So that's the N. The top left, resistance, is R. The top right is N, nutrition. The bottom left of the quadrant is cardiovascular. That's the C in the Fitness Quadrant. In the bottom right is rest and recovery. Those 4 phases, when they're combined the right way, can open up a door for somebody's life. I don't care if you've been training or if you've never trained. There's an entry point for everybody to take their body and gradually, incrementally begin to layer in the right science, the right protocols into their weekly regimen, and you'll start to see things work synergistically. And that's what the Fitness Quadrant is all about, is to take those 4, understand what each one of them do, and now we design a weekly protocol for that Fitness Quadrant for that person. It can work with a pro athlete. It can work. I have people in their early 80s that couldn't get up and down stairs. Their knees and backs were so bad, that have been training with me. Now, one of them is a woman, 85. She's actually going to run the Boston Marathon at 86 years old next year, because we've fixed her joints. We've really added so much mobility and strength to her knees, her hips, her ankles, her Achilles, doing certain incremental things that she actually, I have video of her. She's 85. She actually does plyometric jumps now. And this is a woman that it hurt for her to walk upstairs 2.5 years ago. So we took the time to really show her how that is accomplished. Now, I love everybody in the gym. I love trainers. Good for you. You're in there, you're trying to make a difference. But it's painful for me to work in and out of gyms and see what people are doing inside the gym. It actually hurts my eyes. I say it in a loving way. And trainers, God bless them, but you have an $88 billion industry and there's no governing body. And the incorrect form that I see, and I'm going to talk about that, Antoinette, in a second, how absolutely vital it is. I see it and I'm like, man, I wish I could help these people, but I'm one guy and I already have stacks of clients and I'm working with and all that sort of stuff, right? But that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is to hopefully get it out there. We've got a lot of good feedback right now from focus groups, and as challenging as it was for me to write a book, I think it has a potential to really do well. And again, to take that reader and have them have takeaways that really can make a difference for them. That's our goal. But the Fitness Quadrant is, I think, a brilliant thing, only because it separates the real important components and it allows people to have a different view on what fitness really can mean to them. Instead of just randomly showing up in the gym, randomly doing a little bit of this because I saw a person do that, randomly doing some cardio work, randomly, well, I heard pea protein is good. I guess I'll have some pea protein. It can't be that way. We have to have a consistency in what we do and feed the right data to the human body, and then it will spit out an adaptive remodeling of your body. And now we're talking cause and effect. Now we're talking, we're going to get close to those outcomes that people want to be in their brain. And that's exciting. I mean, it's thrilling. The part I love about it, obviously, is when people start to get what I call fitness momentum. They start to actually adhere to the programs that I give them. And they get back to me in 3 and 4 weeks and say, wow, I can't believe I slept so much better. And I think I'm losing weight. And I'm increasing, my legs don't hurt anymore, my knees, blah, blah, all that sort of stuff. And so that's the part that is addictive. For my personality, when I see somebody actually change their life for the better using fitness as a vehicle, I'm telling you, it spreads out to the rest of their life. I see it all the time. And how cool is that? I mean, we're all connected, right? We're all connected, no matter what color of our skin, no matter what, side of the aisle you're on. We have to start thinking that way, right? We collectively have to strengthen each other. So my priority is to use fitness, longevity, to maybe help society out a little bit and help them understand how to go about this stuff. So that's my long-winded answer to your question.
Well, what a beautiful way to raise the vibration of human beings, and we so need that right now. And so I'm all about that. So yep. I'm curious, how do you adapt your protocols for very different clients, from pro athletes to 50-year-olds, 80-year-olds? That's a wide range of people. How do you change your strategy with various types of groups?
Great question. There are different components to training, right? Frequency, duration, intensity, all these different things enter into the picture when you're trying to design a program that's adequate, that is going to trigger an adaptive response to the human body, whether somebody's 19 or whether somebody is 69 years old, right? So at the heart of all this is I have NFL linemen that they're going to do a squat the exact same way, the exact same kinesiology in biomechanics. That's somebody that's 79 years. It's the exact same things. Our knees are a hinge joint, right? Our pelvic girdle has tilt to it, right? The lower back, the erector spinae region has certain loads that it carries, less strength-wise when it's in an anterior position compared to a posterior tilt, right? So all these things are the same. I have this woman, the one that's going to run the Boston Marathon. So one of the things I had to do, to give you an example, is on TRX bands, just holding the bands, teaching her how to squat properly. I could go on for 5 hours on how a proper squat should be, and I actually do on my website. I have a little freebie section where I give some tutorials on that stuff. Her pelvic girdle tilt is going to be anterior. Her knees, because they're synovial joints, right? They're hinge joints. Her knees are going to have to drive over the center of her foot, not on the interior part, which will really begin to torque the knees, right? Her feet are going to be about 12 degrees out. The reason for that is because the femoral head up in the hip, as you squat down, the femurs want to come out a little bit. They ride in the hip, right? So the knee, being a hinge joint, only moves in one direction. So the same way I'm going to have an NFL lineman squat 600 pounds is the same way I'm going to take her, lighten the load on her knees by holding onto the TRX band. So she's really only squatting 40 pounds of her body weight, light load, same biomechanic, right? So we want those joints to strengthen. We don't want to tear them apart, even if it's light load. So my answer would be the biomechanics are all the same. The load and the volume is less. So we're going to trigger hypertrophy with a 69-year-old woman very slowly, because what we want to do is first we want the central nervous system to recruit more motor units, right? That's the first thing that strengthens with people is motor unit recruitment in through the nervous system. Then we want to take those joints and give them enough time to strengthen through proper biomechanics. Then we start to increase the load as the requirement happens when she gets stronger and stronger. NFL linemen, we are going to really put it on them with the same biomechanics. But we're going to do such a large volume of explosive movements. We actually start about 10 years ago, the NFL, I know this because I know one of the PhD trainers for one of the teams. I argued for years with him. Why don't NFL linemen, the guys that are 340 pounds, why aren't they doing plyometrics with their legs? Why not? Well, we're trying to build speed, power out of the leg. I said, you are, I understand that. But if you see a lineman, when that ball is snapped, right, they run through the defense, right? They don't stop. Therefore, if you think about, and this is, again, answering your question more deeply, when I do a squat with a weight on my back, the top 20% of my squat, I'm actually decelerating a little bit at the top of the movement. A plyometric, I'm firing through the entire motor unit chain. So linemen are doing the same thing. We overload them with weight and have them do plyometrics so they become much more explosive. The study of proprioception is muscle learning how to fire in a certain pattern, right? We have seen just massive improvement on speed and power with linemen as an example. Now, we don't have to do that with a 79-year-old woman. She's not playing football. I'd be hailed as the greatest trainer in the world if I could get that to happen, right? However, we do the basics. We get her to a certain level, and we actually do some light plyometric jumps with her feet coming off the ground, half an inch, right? So same biomechanics to answer your question, much lighter intensity, lighter load. Okay.
Tim, can you explain plyometrics?
Plyometrics are explosive movements. For example, we could do like, if we're talking about building a chest, right? Bench press. We lay down on the bar and we're bench pressing the weight, right? We may pick a 6 rep range or a 12 rep range, whatever the outcome is intended, right? At the top of your bench press, the last, again, about 20, 15%, we actually decelerate a little bit at the top, all right? Plyometrics, if you take the muscle, the way it fires in the concentric phase, right? The shortening cycle of a muscle. Plyometrics will stimulate the firing of that concentric phase at full capacity through the entire range. So an example, you can't do a plyometric with a bar, you'd be throwing it off and that's too dangerous, right? So I just did them today with 2 doctors I trained early this morning. Very strong, very, very good shape. They've been with me for about 5 years. One of the protocols I used today, we did some chest work, but I had them do elevated plyometric push-ups. Now these guys can bench press about 240 pounds each of them. They're pretty strong. And people are like, you push-ups, the guy could do 80 push-ups. I said, I know, but we're not going to do that today. So I had them get down in a push-up position with the handles, right, to protect their wrist. I put a pad on their back with a 45-pound plate, hold it on their back, and they're actually doing plyometric push-ups where they're coming right off the ground, landing back in like a sponge, right? Every 3rd rep, I'd have them come halfway down, which is the weak joint angle of the humerus, have them hold for 3 seconds. That's all nervous system firing at the weak joint angle. Then they would repeat 3 more plyos, boom, with weight. So they were tapping out at about, 12 to 13 reps. They could not get off the ground anymore. I promise you, tomorrow they will feel like they did 6 sets with 250 pounds. But that is how we still maintain hypertrophy while we strengthen joint angles and keep the shoulders safe, et cetera, right? So a plyometric is a plyometric jump. A lot of people have seen them in a gym where you're on the ground and you have to jump all the way up on the box. There is no deceleration when you're doing plyos. It is a full firing range through the entire rep range, right? So that's the difference, is plyometrics are firing the muscle through the entire range of the movement. That's athletic. If I look at an athlete that has a lot of directional change, left, right, they need to decelerate and explode off that muscle to change angles. So I do protocols with athletes that way, where we will hold heavy balls or a kettlebell, and they will go zigzag left and right. I'll have them jump over a string I tie, maybe 50 feet long. I'll raise it to 6 inches. Second set, it's 8 inches. Third set, it's 12 inches. They have to do plyometrics over that thing, jumping left, right, building enormous hip, glute strength, thigh strength. And it makes them faster and stronger. And it shows up on the field all the time. So that's the type of stuff I mean when I talk about writing a protocol that is addressing the outcome of that athlete. Or answering your question, what is a plyometric? And that's an example of a plyometric. A dynamic type of training, dynamic.
Before we cover the next topic in this episode, I want to introduce you to the adventure sports lifestyle with what I call a micro story about an adventure that I've had. The adventure sports lifestyle and my deep connection to nature is essential to my good health. So here's the story. The biggest impact that you can make toward improving the soil and water in your community is changing your behaviors. For instance, avoiding using pesticides, unnatural fertilizers, and weed killers in your yard, which will seep into the groundwater and run off into lakes and rivers, causing an algae bloom that can be dangerous to humans, animals, and aquatic life. Remember that a local nursery might sell plants that are considered invasive species in your community, because the non-native plant will often drop its seeds, germinate, and start pulling nutrients and water from the soil while blocking out the germination of native seeds, which cannot access sunlight because the non-native plant blocks the sun. This is how a state or region might designate a non-native plant as an invasive species. I hope you'll consider making these small changes to do your part to be a good steward of the land and waterways where you live. I hope this inspires you to get outside and adventure alone, with friends, or with the people you love most. Now back to the show, where we're talking with expert fitness coach and author of The Goat Within, Timothy J. Ward. A lot of people, whether they're in their 30s, 40s, or 80s, go to the gym, like you said, because they want to look and feel better and they want to age better. It's not just about living longer, but living longer, healthier lives, able to do more. So what's the most common misconception about aging, and how does your book, The Goat Within, debunk that?
Great question. That is a question on millions of people's minds. How do I do this? How do I incorporate it, right? And again, there's a huge amount of knowledge that needs to go into that answer, right? So first of all, aging is, it's an interesting topic, obviously, for many, many reasons. The prevailing position people have of aging, and I'm talking probably 80 or 90% of the population, oh, well, I'm not supposed to feel great at 50 or 55. Oh, well, yeah, I have a little gut on me. I'm 55. I mean, I'm supposed to be this way. Yeah, I know. I really can't, go down and play Frisbee with my kids at the beach or my grandkids anymore. Listen, I'm 60. I should be sitting back, kicking back. And that's the prevailing thought. That's what people have been duped into. I don't want to get into conspiracies, but the way society has been designed, really allows for mediocrity. It allows for the psyche of people to really take a back seat. Listen, I am so not like that. The older I get, I want to use my wisdom to actually propel. How do we move it forward? I'm not settling for that crap. That's not happening, right? So let's think a little bit differently. One of the reasons is because a lot of people have tried working out in their 40s, 50s. They get to 60, they don't get any results, or they get injured. So that feeds that fire of mediocrity. Well, you know, it wasn't for me, or I always get injured, right? So that's one of the hurdles, is that's the way it's quote unquote supposed to be, right? The other thing is, and it always comes back to this, Antoinette, and you know this because of your background, it comes down to the right knowledge. If you have the right knowledge, you can formulate solutions to get around that aging problem, right? So one of the things that happens with aging is, this is in my book as well. There's 3 longevity markers, and they are major. The first is muscle mass. The loss of muscle mass, called sarcopenia, right? It's when people really start to lose muscle mass. And I have graphs in my book that show how quick muscle mass loss starts to happen between 42 years old and 65. You lose up to almost 40% of your muscle mass. Think about that. Muscle mass now in the medical world, the researchers, they're starting to link a direct hard hit link to the longevity question, to how much muscle the human body has on it. All right. So muscle mass is one of the keys. If we know that, and people are aging, you have to have a strategy. How are you going to plan on at least keeping the muscle mass you have if we know it's a longevity marker, right? So that's a big one right there, is you have to realize muscle is magic. And I have a whole chapter in my book about that. It is your engine of your body. Think of a furnace in your house, right? Let's think you've got a 20,000 BTU furnace in your house, right? And it works and it heats your house, blah, 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 right? Now let's put 100,000 BT unit in there. Think of a furnace as muscle, right? You put 100,000 BTU furnace, man, it heats your house like it doesn't even have to try, right? That's muscle mass on your body. It drives your metabolism. It keeps your bones strong. It keeps your tendons strong. It keeps you mobile. That's freedom. When you're mobile and strong, I'm telling you, it's freedom. And I also talk about that in my book. I talk as a little subchapter I have called The 2 Faces of Freedom. And it's really eye-opening. It took me literally about 3 months to write it the right way. I have about 1,000 crumpled pieces of paper in my fireplace because I couldn't articulate how I wanted to put it, right? But I talk about that. Muscle mass is one of the keys. Heart strength is the second key. We have to have a strong heart. The left ventricle wall, the myocardial wall, right? The heart's a muscle. So when you do the right protocols in cardio, it'll actually your heart gets thicker. It actually weighs more when you train it the right way. The stronger your heart, the less it has to work to pump blood through your system, the lower your BPM, your beats per minute, right? Metabolic strength. We have to have metabolic strength. Those are the 3 markers: muscle mass, heart strength, and metabolic strength. The ability to have our metabolism drive, utilize food, and that only comes from eating the right food, not toxic food, which is a huge part of my book. Those 3 things affect your aging. And if you don't know about them, you need to learn them. Hopefully you buy my book and learn about them, but there are publications out there you can really learn them. Don't forget it, because they will add years to your life if you understand how you have strategies to keep those 3 things not only in check, but get them stronger. And you can do it even if you're 50 or 60, you can improve it, right? So those 3 things are the knowledge side of aging, right? You first have to know you don't have to age into decay, weakness and decay. You can age into healthy and strong, but you have to understand it first. Then you have to show up and put your 3 hours a week. I break it down in my book. You don't need 12 hours a week. You don't need to change your life so severely that you become a fitness freak, and you don't need to do that. You need knowledge. Our workouts, by the way, are 45 minutes. That's it. Our resistance training workouts. That's all they are. My other system called MIT, Modified Interval Training, huge amounts of science in it, right? We do about 26 to 30 sets of the right type of work, exercises, our patterns we run in about 45 minutes. You're in and out, and it will grow. It'll cause hypertrophy. It'll grow muscle. And the very reason it'll grow muscle is some of the sciencey stuff that I talk about in my book, and I kind of hold the real geeky stuff to the end of the book in case people really don't want to get a brain freeze, but I try to explain it in the right way. I picked out maybe a dozen really important things that training the right way, what it triggers in your body. We're very visual, right? We see the fat on our stomach. We see how we fit in clothes, which is great. The vanity side of it, right? We all have that. We want to look and feel good, right? But internally, oh man, the things happening inside your body is like a tsunami of good anabolic growth things that happen inside your body. So our modified interval training, the way we do it, that's a trademark system that I have. If I take a bicep, let's say, simple, right? And I want to grow my bicep a little bit, right? So questions I ask in my book to hopefully guide and help readers. How many reps do I do? How much weight do I use? How many times a week do I do it? How many sets do I do? All these questions are really go unanswered in the gym when I watch people. All right. So there's the specificity of really doing this stuff the right way is what I teach and how I onboard people. And that's why a lot of people they stay in my system because they just keep getting better and better and better as they age. And I've got some mind-blowing stories of people in their 70s that are absolutely in supreme shape that have been with me for years. So a bicep curl, right? So there are certain scientific principles that apply on how I'm going to grow my bicep muscle. In this, there's approximately 650 major muscles in the human body, right? So this applies to how muscle works. How do I trigger hypertrophy in my bicep? Well, I can tell you right away, it's not with a 5-pound dumbbell working out to a Jane Fonda video. Okay. That ain't going to grow your bicep. All right. So I see it a lot, especially women. They don't want to get big and bulky, that whole thing. And I understand where they're coming from. I really do, because I talk about it all the time to new clients and small groups and all that sort of stuff, right? You have to be genetically geared to really pack on the size and strength. I'm telling you, and we go over somatotyping and what that means in the book and your body type and all that. But so if I want to grow that bicep, there's some really important things, and I'll just describe this to you right now, and hopefully some of your listeners will take note of it. This applies to every muscle in your body, right? So I have to have adequate resistance on that bicep. Adequate resistance. I don't mean you have to lift a 200-pound dumbbell and try to do a curl. That's not what I'm talking about. And a lot of people think that. No pain, no gain, that old thing, right? Intelligent training is a whole different set of circumstances, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want to pick a weight that is going to stimulate an adaptive response to that muscle. The rep range and the amount of weight I choose go hand in hand, right? So somebody that's 80 years old, a 10-pound dumbbell, maybe they can only do 10 reps with that 10-pound dumbbell. Okay, because that's they're weak. They've never trained, right? But it's important that on their 10th rep or their 12th rep with good form, and I'll talk about that in a minute, they're struggling to get that last rep. That's what I mean when I talk about the proper weight that you select is a huge factor. All right. So many times I see people with inadequate weight. They don't have enough weight to stimulate the muscle to grow. And they do 15 reps where they could have done 30 reps. And I'll say, why did you stop? Well, you said to do 15. I said, I know, but the first rule of thumb is we need to have the right weight selection, right? So when we talk about the right weight selection, we're really talking about what is called synchronous or asynchronous firing patterns. Okay, think about a marathon runner. When they do their 2.5-hour run, they're in what we call exercise scientists call an asynchronous firing pattern, meaning their muscle, their type 1, type 2 fiber is cycling back and forth. They're not all firing at once. They don't need to because there's not a lot of force production required out of jogging, right? So let's take a sprinter, a badass woman or man sprinter. Their bodies are incredible. They're the ones sprinting for 4, 5, 8 seconds, all out as fast as they can get down that track. That's called synchronous firing, where a type 1, type 2 fiber, because they're at maximum force production to run as fast as they can, those muscles all have to synchronize and fire at the same time. Okay, this is what builds muscle. Look at a sprinter's body and look at a marathon runner's body. Dramatically different, right? Sprinters have hypertrophy. They're muscular. It's because the amount of resistance on their body and their training and their athletic events cause synchronous firing. So we do the same thing in the gym. I know that a 40-pound dumbbell, if I'm doing a curl, is going to be adequate weight to cause synchronous firing in my bicep. I'm working for 10 reps, right? If I had a 5-pound dumbbell, it's asynchronous. My type 1, type 2 fiber, we can take a vacation. Type 1 A, B, C, you guys fire now, and then type 2 C, you can fire. It's not enough weight, right? So the first thing to grow the muscle, we have to have adequate weight, right? That's asynchronous and synchronous firing patterns. The second, almost as important, is the proper form. And I don't know if you and I talked about this before, Antoinette. This is one of the key vital points I talk about. We know that muscle mass, let's back up for a second, is a longevity factor. We cannot afford to lose muscle on our body. It's critical. So we at least have to maintain the muscle we have as we age. We actually want to grow more, and we do it. My company, Lifestrong, the protocols that we write. So we know we have to have synchronous firing, right? But here is where the roads separate. When we talk about biomechanics, when we talk about the proper exercise form, it is such a massively understudied piece of the fitness industry, okay? And here's why. If you have incorrect form, not only are you going to have a much more heightened probability of injury, but you actually are doing reps and you're getting less motor unit recruitment out of the muscle that you're targeting. And here's why. Think about this. Think about the muscle is attached to tendons, the tendon is attached to the bone, right? And I have drawings of this in my book to try to get people to understand this. So in that connective tissue, right at the end of the muscle belly into the tendons, we have what is called Golgi tendon organs, GTOs. Very, very important to understand this, right? If you want to really do this stuff the right way, this is the type of info that becomes important for you. Golgi tendon organs, we'll call them GTOs for short. I also write about this in my book. GTOs sense torque and tension in the muscle and in the tendon, okay? If my form is incorrect, it means my tendon is off. So that tendon is going to be torqued much more easily, right? What happens is the GTOs get turned on because of the torque, because my biomechanics are incorrect, and it's not going to allow the muscle to fire all the motor units. If it did, I would be ripping joints out. I'd be severing the connective tissue, right? So GTOs protect us. They're a mechanism to sense torque, all right? Think about this. If I do 6 sets of biceps or bench or squats or whatever it is we're doing for an exercise, and my form is off, this is an interesting piece here. And the GTOs are firing a little bit. It's not allowing, every rep, I'm 20% less in the muscle firing, right? Think about that set doing 10 reps times 6 sets. I have just minimized my hypertrophy potential by 20% in that workout. I spent all this time and I'm really not getting the strength gains. I'm really not getting the muscle growth that I want. Why? People go crazy. This is one of the reasons, right? So GTOs are our friend because it keeps us from injury, but it's also our enemy if we're doing incorrect biomechanics. This is why I lean so heavily on teaching the right biomechanics, because it keeps us safe. It actually strengthens joints instead of injuring joints. You know, we all know the injury rate for people that try to work out hard is massive, right? I think you hear all this stuff from CrossFit to all these other, outfits. You can look at it online, and it's upwards over 70%. It's because it's just, let's go crazy, let's lift hard and get you ready, no pain, no gain, that whole thing, right? Intelligent lifting, the Olympic athletes, oh man, it is one of the biggest components of their training. Biomechanics, it is everything. That's what gets you to those next levels, right? Think about this. If I do 28 sets in a workout and I do about 12 reps on each set, I'm going to just use averages here. Think about this, right? In that workout, I just lifted 33,000 pounds approximately. 33,000 pounds I just moved in 45 minutes or an hour, whatever your workout is, right? I do that 3 days a week. That's 100,000 pounds a week I'm putting through my body, my joints. A yellow school bus that all annoy us in the morning because we can't get to where we want to go weighs about 26,000 pounds. So in your workout, you're putting more torque and pressure on your joints than a school bus weighs. Think about that, right? Now tell me biomechanics aren't important, right? So these are the things we cover, and we get people really starting to think about this. And it is an absolute joy when they start to do this stuff right. It takes about, I'd say, 4 to 8 weeks when they start to get into a rhythm. By 12 weeks in, their friends are going, "What are you doing? You look different. Your face, what are you?" And they're, "Oh man, I'm working out and I got this new system I'm on and I'm lifting weights." And the response, "Oh, I get hurt when I lift weights. I don't want to do that." Right? That's the part I hate about this job, is because people think it's a simple thing and it's not. So if you want to do it the right way, those are a couple sciencey things, right? Synchronous and asynchronous firing, GTOs, how they affect our motor unit recruitment, right? We're talking, central nervous system is incorporated in all this stuff. And just think about the central nervous system for a second. We have 100,000 miles of nerve endings in our body. Think about it. It can wrap around the earth over 3 times in your body, right? So the nervous system is a huge component of motor unit recruitment and all the stuff that we're talking about. And, it becomes part of higher level training, creating an ecosystem that really, really moves the needle. And if you can do that, you add years to your life and life to your years and all the things that we really are after as humans, right? We work so hard and we do all the 401k and take your body and start to understand there's a much higher level you can get to if you really want to live a higher quality physical life and be that shining example for your kids, for your friends, and spread that light, right? That's what I'm trying to get you to do. No idea how much impact I'm going to have, but I'm trying, Antoinette.
I love this so much because I can tell you, in all my years of powerlifting and bodybuilding, I have never had a tendon injury. Even though I have degenerative arthritis from my military time, it's never from an injury. And the key is I've always focused on excellent form. Even if that meant I had to lift lower weights, ensured that my form was superior. So we'll be back with more insights after this short break. World events are constantly teaching everyone some very painful lessons. Without warning, everything we take for granted can suddenly fail. And if you're not prepared in advance, you really don't have a chance. The fact is, the modern world runs on a just-in-time supply schedule. Even the biggest grocery stores can carry only enough food for a few days' worth of normal shopping.
So when disaster strikes and chaos ensues at your local stores, the odds are simply against you. If you don't have emergency food and gear stockpiled in advance, you will probably suffer. My partner Ready Hour is here to help you ahead of time. Ready Hour has a long history of providing calorie-rich, reliable, and delicious nourishment for life's unexpected situations, and critical emergency gear too. They're part of a family of companies that have served millions of people like you for decades. My family and I use Ready Hour products for camping, mountaineering, and disaster preparedness for 5 years now. They're not just reliable, they're also your affordable option too. Long-term survival food shouldn't break the bank. That's why they have great sales and payment options for you. It's your bridge to safety and survival when things just aren't normal anymore. So make your next decision your smartest decision. Be ready for tomorrow, today. Trust Ready Hour. Ready to shop? Use my affiliate link in the show description.
So, Tim, what's one cutting-edge, science-backed strategy from The Goat Within that readers can implement today for immediate longevity gains?
Good question. I do get asked that quite a bit. And, my nature, I want to give 49 answers, right? But I cut it back a little bit and I'm like, God, what is one thing, just the simplest, what could somebody do? And I guess it's simple for me or you, right? Because we're in the space, right? We're deeply involved in fitness and treating our bodies, the right way. But I would tell people probably the greatest thing you could do is to learn about toxic food in our food supply. It doesn't take that long. What I'm talking about is one of the most pivotal things you could ever do for yourself. Okay, is learn what toxic foods you're eating. Fake sugars, trans fats, seed oils. Oh my God, it's in everything. Every restaurant, every grocery store that sells mass-produced foods, right? Sugars, you have to get away from sugars. You have to get away from seed oils. I write about it in my book. I go into it in depth, the type of inflammation it triggers. It actually encapsulates your life if you keep ingesting the incorrect mass-produced foods. You want to break out of that matrix and you want to start to really open your life up. That's the one thing I would tell people, whether they buy my book, whether they try to seek this out on their own. If you can understand the level of toxicity in our food supply, if you can break that, you have just opened the door. And that's part one of my book. It's about 80 pages. Is the first part I talk about. The greatest workouts in the world. You can do everything I just talked about if you learn it. Synchronous firing pattern and GTOs and good workouts. But if you're feeding your body toxic food, I'm telling you, it brings the greatest workouts to its knees. It renders them useless. So we talked about a system, the Fitness Quadrant. This is what I mean. It's connecting all those dots at the same time, staying consistent with them. That is how you make radical changes in your body, which changes your mind and your outlook, which changes your life. People, I'm telling you, you become powerful because of the power you used to have to pull out of yourself. Don't go with societal norms. Don't do it. Learn how to do this stuff and really take a big leap. And then I say in the book, teach your loved ones. Bring them into the storyline. It is one of the greatest gifts you could ever give to your kids is to teach them how to do this stuff the right way. It's really important.
If you don't buy The Goat Within for any other reason than to find out how to exercise correctly to prevent injuries and increase longevity, you must read this chapter on taking toxic foods out of your diet. It is so important. I can't stress it enough. It's one of the secrets to my good health. And if you've been listening to this podcast, I have a long list of health challenges and disabilities. But what has really helped me is that I have a clean diet. And every time I read more about the toxic nature of our foods, I learn a little more. So don't think that, I've read some about the toxic nature of foods. And you may have even listened to the podcast episode on the 12 toxic food villains, and you can download a list that you can take to the grocery store to help you avoid those food villains, those toxic ingredients that's hiding inside your package labels. But read the chapter in Tim's book on removing toxic foods out of your body. You will level up your life from within a week. You'll feel the difference.
Yep. You add in the right training, the right cardio, the right rest and recovery. I'm telling you, the sample size I have, Antoinette, for the amount of people, it sounds cliche-ish. I literally I see them all the time. People that, maybe go away for the winter, come back in, they'll train with me for, 3 months, 4 months, but I arm them with the knowledge that when they're on a road trip or they're away in their mansion in Hawaii for the winter, they know the importance of it. They stay in touch with me. It's changed the trajectory of their life. It truly, truly has. And this is what I'm trying to get to with people. This is something you can do. It just takes knowledge. It takes a little bit of effort, but I'm telling you, accept the gift and get it done. It's a huge, huge piece of everybody's life story. It's either going to nosedive as you age, or you're going to elevate as you age. And it's a very worthy thing to spend some time on.
So Tim, looking ahead post-book launch, what's the boldest wellness prediction you have for the next 10 years?
Wow, that's a big question. Great question. I would say that you're going to see a much deeper division of people that are sick and weak, right? And the people that are healthy and strong, they're going to move apart. You're going to see a greater division of that. I think you're going to see a little bit uptick of people that go on to be healthy and strong, because there's becoming an awareness thanks to people like you. Fantastic podcast. I'm trying to do my part of it to make the world a little bit better. But I think you're going to see the division. There's not going to be anybody in the middle. It's going to be really sick, pharmaceutical addicted people that can't walk upstairs when they're 60, right? Or you're going to have people in their 80s that are still running mountains and surfing and enjoying nature, right? Get out and do grounding, get in the ocean, walk with bare feet on. It's all there for us. We get so caught up in the garbage, right? The Netflix and the Insta, I get it. It's in. Try to minimize that. Get down and be more basic. It'll do you a world of good.
Get outside and adventure, like we always say.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Tim, what more would you like listeners to know?
I would like people to know that, the seeds of great health are inside of you. Maybe some of you listening are already doing, making practice of this stuff. I don't know. If you are, good for you. You're an example for the world. If you're really kind of wondering, how do I do this? What's the next step? I've got a great new website that we just launched. It's called fitnessquadrant.net. Fitnessquadrant.net. I put it in front of focus groups before we made it live, all that sort of stuff. We really put a lot on that website, so people can kind of read, educate themselves. If they want to, connect with us and get some training done, they can do it there. I've got some freebies out on the site where people can kind of read and look and download some ebooks. I've got some videos that I put some workouts at home so that's a great resource is our website. We're also just started building out a really cool community. I don't know if your listeners have heard of Skool, SKOOL, skool.com. So we just started to build out a community where we share information on there. There are some inexpensive paid for things you can get on that site. We're really trying to add a lot of our videos and information to that, but that's a really good resource for people. Skool.com/lifestrong. and you'll see us up there, and we're continually adding to it. There's community boards where people can interact with each other, they ask us questions, all that sort of stuff. And I do, we're going to start in October, I'm going to start a live question and answer session through school where anybody can call in and just ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer the concerns of people. And again, it's just giving to people, getting people, more aware of trying to do this stuff. Stronger people make a stronger community. A stronger community makes a stronger city. A stronger city makes a stronger region. Stronger region makes a stronger country, right? Let's get strong. Let's not live weak. Let's get strong. That's my input to your listeners.
Amen to that, Tim. And thank you so much for this mission. I can really feel and hear the passion in your voice about this work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to having you back again.
I love it. Okay, Antoinette. So long. Thank you so much.
Magnesium, an unsung hero, fuels over 300 bodily reactions, from heart health to stress relief. Magnesium expert Natalie Girardo, founder of Rooted In, found freedom from anxiety, insomnia, and pain through topical magnesium. It transformed my life, she says, inspiring her mission to share this mineral's power. Cardiologist Dr. Jack Wolfson calls magnesium essential for heart health, helping regulate rhythms, blood sugar, and reduce inflammation. Up to 80% of people may be deficient, facing issues like depression, migraines, insomnia, or muscle cramps. For women over 40, magnesium eases menopause symptoms, boosts energy, and supports bones. Choosing the correct type of magnesium matters. Real stories, Natalie's and mine, highlight its impact. After interviewing magnesium expert Natalie Girardo, I became a customer. I was already a magnesium fan, having been told by 2 cardiologists to take magnesium for a minor heart arrhythmia. Natalie explains it best in the Magnesium, the Mineral Transforming Lives episode of New Normal Big Life, number 4 in Alternative Health on Apple Podcasts. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Fast forward after the interview, I bought the Rooted In bundle for sleep, tranquility, and pain relief. As a spine injury survivor with several other health challenges, I'm in constant pain. However, I don't take any pain medication. Rooted In is now one more source that nature provided to give our bodies what it needs when it needs it. You can find magnesium in natural bodies of water like lakes and rivers and in soil. But modern farming practices have stripped magnesium out of the soil and our food. That's why today, Rooted In's rest, relief, and tranquility are part of our afternoon and nightly sleep routine. My guy who did 2 tours kicking indoors in Iraq with the Marines now has no trouble falling asleep. I no longer have to take melatonin before bedtime to fall asleep. So after I became a customer and saw how well these products work, I applied to become an affiliate. I've been sharing the secrets of Rooted In with friends and family from age 38 to 68, and everyone has gotten amazing results within minutes of applying the cream. Do something naturally good for yourself. Get Rooted In. Click my affiliate link in the episode description to shop now.